This KFAN podcast is sponsored by Builders and Remodelers, exclusive Twin Cities provider of Elements Windows. Get the highest quality windows at unmatchable value. Visit buildersandremodelers.com for more details.
This is your Kwesi Swings and Misses Leader Fan Radio Network.
The stories a stadium could tell.
And KFAN.com. 1 minute and 55 seconds past the hour of 3 o'clock Central Daylight Saving Time. Welcome back. It is a Friday edition of the Bumper to Bumper program on a, pretty nice, pretty balmy Friday afternoon here in the Twin Cities of Minneapolis and St. Paul. My name is Dan Barreiro. I host the program. Guardsy produces the show. We also are part of a TV show called Enough Said, Fox 9. Which appears every Friday night, various times, depending on schedule. I think this Friday, tonight, 7:30 on Fox 9 Plus, and 10:30 on Fox 9. It's a very sportsy edition of the broadcast. Every once in a while, we let we give the A section the week off just to kind of recharge out of exhaustion to a certain extent. But we hope that you will watch at any point live tonight. Live is in when it's on, or obviously you can always do the DVR thing, or get the show, any Enough Said program, via Fox Local, correct?
Fox Local app. It's free, easy to use, and all of our stuff's there. And apparently, we do very well on Fox Local, is my information.
You think they're just saying that to make us feel better?
No, because I don't think they care about making us feel better.
On TV, that's what I thought. That's all TV was about, was lying to the talent.
No. Well, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe we're not talent.
That's very
Maybe
possible.
The talent gets lied to. I thought you meant the audience.
Well, yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
How special we are, and wallet hub lists and things like that.
Oh, I gotcha. Well, that's good to hear. I'm glad to hear that people are taking advantage of
My information is Fox Local. We're
Fox
through
Local.
the roof.
Okay. I just hope they don't put us there permanently. Like, I'm not looking down on Fox Local, but it would be one less platform,
yeah.
The Fox 9 and Fox 9 Plus platforms are pretty good.
They're great.
Yeah, they're outstanding.
We love them both.
So we hope you give it a watch tonight if you have the time to do it, or can watch back at any point that's convenient for you. The news breaking earlier today that the Vikings have announced a contract extension with the general manager of the club, Kwesi Adopho-Mensah. I don't think there's any. Did he get one of those highfalutin, like, president of football operations titles? I don't think he did. I think his title remains general manager, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I'll look again. I didn't even look.
I think two individuals working under him did get new assistant general manager designations, but I don't think his has changed. And it was assumed that this was coming. If there was any intrigue about it, it was just because of the amount of time it was taking after the original contract extension announcement involving the head coach, which goes back, is it 2 months? 3 months?
Basically the week after the season.
Yeah, it was pretty quick after our postseason failure. Sorry. Postseason failure. But nevertheless, we said
Los Angeles
we're going to lock in.
Arizona.
We love this twosome, and we certainly love our head coach. Doesn't matter, we're going to extend. But that's where the disappointment comes in. Announcement comes down today. Did you see the statement that was offered up?
I did.
By Kwesi.
Yes.
At least via MinnesotaVikings.com.
I read it. It was a lengthy paragraph.
I'm going to read it, and then I'm going to explain why I'm disappointed, why I think he swung and missed. I'm beyond excited to continue this journey with the Minnesota Vikings. This organization means so much to me, and I've always believed in what we're building here. From the ownership to the incredible staff, there's a true commitment to creating a winning culture with the goal of competing year in and year out. I'm thankful for the trust the Wilf family has placed in me. Thrilled to continue leading our football operation alongside Coach O'Connell. Minnesota has welcomed my family with open arms, and we embrace the sacrifices that come with chasing the ultimate prize, knowing what it will mean to the best fan base and this great state. While we've made significant strides already, our focus will remain on building a team positioned as a perennial contender. This extension signifies we are on solid ground with the long-term vision we've set. And I'm incredibly excited to work with this group of talented people as we continue to push the boundaries of what this franchise can achieve. You can see the problem, I think. I hope. Can you?
I have an idea, but I don't want to guess.
Well, not enough buzzwords. We had the new general manager of the Phoenix Suns.
Yep.
Where we had the buzzword ticker. And what was it? It was 27 alignments, 18 identities,
Yep.
and I think 15 visions.
Something like that.
And all I could find in here is one vision. And I guess if you want to go with you want to consider jargon being the word culture, like winning culture, that might be two. There was no collaboration. There was nothing about intentionality. Is Kwesi slipping a little bit? I really wanted more word salad and more jargon, more cliche, so that we could do our own bumper to bumper jargon word salad ticker. And I don't think there's enough words at all. None are repeated in that. Now that's a statement, not a press conference, I grant you. But nevertheless, I was shocked that it was lacking what we usually get, which is a really steady stream of buzzwords.
Did you read the entire release?
Oh no. Was there more to his statement?
Not to his statement, but did you read the entire release? Because this is sad because we think alike.
That is sad.
The owners took care of that for Kwesi.
Oh, you know what?
Both Mark and Ziggy went early, often, and repeatedly into the buzzword bingo. And I almost feel like Kwesi got the first draft of the release and said,
I don't need to double down.
Ziggy and Mark,
they've covered me.
Already filled up their bingo card. I'm going to play this one a little straighter. I'm going to have to be a little bit more creative because everybody knows how much I love those words. But I had the same thought you did. And as I'm reading sequentially from Mark to Ziggy to Kwesi, by the time I get to Kwesi, I'm thinking it's going to be like 50.
Yeah.
Because of what Mark and Ziggy served up.
But in this way, you're saying it actually goes the other direction.
It does.
It's a declining number of buzzwords. So I'm
Given
looking at
how big
Ziggy's.
the paragraph was from Kwesi, and Mark and Ziggy were both briefer.
Yeah.
I figured there'd be a lot more packed into Kwesi's, but like you said, there was none.
Well, I'm looking at Ziggy's, unless this is a shortened version of it. I see collaborate.
Yep.
But I don't see any others. Did Mark have more? Maybe I have. Is Mark has a separate one? Mark Wilf?
I'll just read. Yes, his is at the top.
Okay.
I'll just read you the first sentence.
All right.
Kwesi's leadership, vision, and collaboration with our coaching staff has positioned the Minnesota Vikings for sustained success. Because that's a big one, too. Sustained success is a big one.
Yeah.
You can't just have success.
Does that include postseason success?
I don't see. Well, they do say we're pursuing a championship.
Okay.
That does come there.
All right.
Also, Mark Wilf, his dedication and forward-thinking approach have been instrumental in shaping our roster and future. We are confident that under the guidance of him and Kevin O'Connell, we'll continue to compete at the highest level as we pursue a championship for Vikings fans.
Well, there it is. Now, has KOC issued a statement?
Haven't seen anything from him.
In reaction to what Kwesi had to say.
I don't believe so.
We don't know terms. The assumption is, I don't know if this is even a fair assumption, but isn't and we'll talk with Ben Gessling about this at 4:30, but isn't the assumption so far been, well, these guys are a duo. So on that basis, is it fair to surmise that the number of years extension, that at the end of each of their deals, as of at least they're set up now with these extensions, those extensions will end at the same time, the same year?
I think that's true. Have we seen that reported or not? I know it's not official from the team, but I think
it's been assumed.
Yeah,
I didn't know if it's been reported, and maybe Ben
will probably know.
Will be able to answer that question. Who do you think, if we had to rank BMIs between the two of them, KOC and Kwesi, I'm leaning Kwesi.
That's where I was going. Yeah.
I'm leaning. Now, that's not a shot at KOC's.
No. I think Kwesi hits the gym more deliberately. I'm not saying KOC doesn't.
Yeah.
I think KOC does a little TB12. I think he's more of a stretcher and a hydrator. I think Kwesi...
You're starting to make him sound like Luka. Pre-diet.
No, none of that. No, and I certainly am not one to talk about anybody's fitness regime, or regimen, I should say. Kwesi strikes me as a guy who puts puts it on the rack. And
who do we see without a ball cap more often? KOC or Kwesi?
Kwesi.
I think it's Kwesi.
Yeah, KOC wears a hat almost exclusively.
Now, in the statement that was sent out with the visual, it's Kwesi in a ball cap.
Yeah.
Vikings ball cap, obviously.
Yep.
With his arms crossed. Very serious look on his face. No big smile. No, there's serious business here, man. Being the stewards of the most popular franchise in town. And we know this. It's not news. We're not breaking any ground with it. But is that truer today than ever? Do you believe, despite really lately lack of postseason success, that the Minnesota Vikings are far and away the team in this town?
Yes.
I think that's true, too, and I'm not even sure I know why, other than it's because football itself, pro football itself,
that's it,
continues to lap the field.
That's it. I mean, just the number of people that listen to the Fan or the iHeart app on a Sunday, and we can see all those numbers that are dialing in just for the game to find out what happened with the Vikings.
Yes.
Massive, dwarfing everything. And everybody else and everything else on the station does pretty well. The
Correct.
Vikings game specifically
are absurd.
Is ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. People love their football.
We'll talk more about this with Ben, no question, at 4:30. Lavelle at 5:30, if we can get him on the phone, and he can properly conduct an interview, which is always an open question.
Let's just settle for getting him on the phone.
That's it. And then at the bottom of this hour, as promised, Dr. Dan's inbox. I didn't tweet out any need. Are we in decent shape account-wise, or do you need some more?
We always accept more. We're in people showed up yesterday. We've got a good list for that, and people can always get in late.
So you can email Guardsy still, jg@kfan.com, if you want to add a couple of late letters, maybe one from Kwesi. Who's to say? Because that would be very timely. We always like timely letters. Sometimes they get special prominence and dispensation as well. I'm guessing there'll be some leftover Wolves stuff to discuss and speculation that might be worth a minute or two. I have a laundry list of A-section stuff. I don't know how much of it we'll get to today, but we'll obviously start bringing more of that back now that the Wolves run is over. We're not in a hardcore abyss. We're in a semi-abyss, one could say at this point. Now, basically until training camp, I guess. But there'll be the opportunity to intersperse some of those stories. Some of them, I think, pretty entertaining and pretty interesting. At least I think so, and I'd hope you think the same thing. Bradshaw and Brian KFAN text line is wide open. Many of you are already checking in, and all you have to do is dial 64686. Although I might mention the what's the word when you take away all the blocked deals? When somebody has like a jail sentence or has like
the stay of execution.
Yeah, what's the term I'm looking? There's a word.
Commuting of the
sentence. Or if you had let's say you checked out a library book 6 years ago and you were afraid to bring it back because of how much the accrued fines technically would be, that then they announce something. There's a word for it that says you're off the hook if you'll just bring the book back. I'm looking and struggling for that word, as only I can do.
Is that clemency?
Clemency is one of them, but it's still not the one I'm looking for. But in any case, we'll remind you that you're back to being blocked if you've been previously blocked. You had your day. I gave you a free shot yesterday when we all had to do the mea culpa and say we couldn't have been more wrong about Timberwolves over the Oklahoma City Thunder, but you're being reblocked. I can't. It's beyond. It's out of my control. It's out of my hands. It's real life, and sometimes you just have to accept it. Amnesty might be the word I'm looking for. Amnesty works like overdue library fine amnesty for one day. You bring the library book back, and we're going to look the other way. Otherwise, because I think what happens, first of all, does anybody go to a library anymore?
I was thinking you might need to define that for the audience.
You might be right. I mean, I still see libraries that seem to be open at least some of the time. But does anybody use a library? And I mean, this probably won't surprise anybody, but my first job, part-time job, was basically working in a library. You know, when books are returned, then somebody's got to put them back in their proper place, that kind of thing.
Yep.
That was my job. That, and there was a Dewey Decimal System that for a long time was used. Certain numbers were assigned to certain, like in a nonfiction sense, book topics, right? And my job was I would be told, okay, these are books about World War II. So the Dewey Decimal number that's associated with that is, I'm making this up because I don't remember what it would have been, it's like 223.6. So then I would have to, on a thing called a typewriter. I don't even know how many people in our audience knows what a typewriter is,
yeah.
But the typewriter, I'd have a bunch of labels that would fit on the spine of the book, each of them. And so I would type whatever the Dewey number that was associated with that book. Then I would peel off said sticker to put on the spine of the book. Then I'd have to take some kind of like almost, I wouldn't call it a soldering iron, but an iron. It got hot to sort of melt the back glue onto so that the sticker would stay on the spine of the book. That was my first job. I mean, it wasn't much, but it was, it was kind of good to get some experience with it. But I don't even know if libraries exist anymore.
They do. They're still around. We popped into the Ridgedale one from time to time to borrow books for the kids to read, especially during the summer. You know, it was always really frustrating, like when I would go to libraries, and I've been to, 5 colleges, so I didn't spend a whole lot of time there. First of all, this is true, actually. I didn't even know until my last semester at Iowa that people went to the library to study. Like, I didn't even know that was a thing. There was an area in our dorm where we would go to study.
Yeah, sure.
But I got there, I'm like, well, no wonder all these people have these friends from these classes and they're hanging out on the weekends. They're all here. Yeah. It's like a big party at the big library. This will be no surprise to anybody. My last 2 weeks in Iowa City is when I discovered that people actually went to study at the library.
Think how much quicker you might have gotten a sheepskin if you'd have figured that out a little sooner. Maybe you actually would have graduated from one of them.
Maybe. There's a lot of what ifs in that whole scenario.
I told you my Indiana University library story. I came perilously close to getting kicked out of it and having to deal with security. And it all has to do, Indiana had a basketball player back in the mid-'70s, played on the last undefeated national champion, Indiana University basketball team, Bob Knight. Scott May was a forward on that team. Very good college player.
His kid played for North Carolina years later.
That's exactly
on Rashad McCann's team.
So Scott May had a kind of a checkered NBA career and then had a pretty cataclysmic injury. I want to say he was with the Bulls, but I don't remember who. And I was writing a story. I was working in Louisville, I think, but I was in Bloomington because I want to say Olympic trials were going. Something was going on of an international nature in Bloomington. And I was trying to put together a story on Scott May's road to recovery. Obviously, because in Indiana University, then Scott May was still a very big name. And I'd found a quote from a while before from Jerry Colangelo, one of the biggest names in pro basketball history from a management standpoint, longtime general manager of the Phoenix Suns. And the quote from Colangelo, and it was in a story about a lot of different things, but the quote from Colangelo was, Scott May will never come back. So, you know how sometimes writers at the top of a story in ITAL, they'll put a quote to sort of set up the rest of the story?
Yes.
Well, that's what I used because it's pretty dramatic. And I was sort of using that to make the point that a lot of people are doubting whether May was going to be able to come back from this injury. So I get a phone call from Bozich, who was at whatever these trials were at Indiana, because I was in town, but I apparently wasn't there. And apparently Bozich says, Jerry Colangelo is looking for you, and he is pissed. I said, what about what? He goes, he claims he never made that statement. He's under all kinds of heat here. He's in Bloomington.
Yeah.
And people are confronting him with something. He says, I don't know where that came from. I didn't say it. So then I'm annoyed because I'm going, wait a minute. I saw it, right, in print, didn't I? So what do you do back in those days? You go to the IU library, and you try to go through back issues because back in those days, they had newspapers from all over the country.
Yes.
But the question was whether it had been written originally like 2 or 3 months before. So I asked for back issues of the Chicago Tribune. They say, here's what we got. And it was like just for the last week. I said, no, I got to go further back. And they said, well, they're in the basement. So I got to get them. You got to let me in the basement. So a guy brings a key, unlocks the door. I'm in the catacombs of the library, pouring through. I'm sweating because I'm starting to second guess myself.
Not a good feeling.
And you don't want to be on Jerry Colangelo's bad side, man. He had a lot of power. I'm going over and over, and I can't. I'm about to give up. They want to close the library. They're about done with me, and I finally found the story. So then the problem was, I wasn't really supposed to take the paper. So I ended up convincing him, let me just do a zero. Back in those days, there was a thing called a Xerox machine.
Yep.
And then what you do is you'd put the newspaper on top of the machine. There's like a camera there, and it would take a picture of whatever page that you had, but you had to make sure it was folded right the whole bit. So I've got my page now. The next day...
You're bringing the receipts to Colangelo, as the kids would say.
So the next day, I show up at these trials. I think it was being held actually at the Field House next to Assembly Hall. And I approach him because I don't know him. Jerry Dan Barreiro, I hear you're upset with me. What is this about? I said, well, I just wanted to show you where I got the comment that you made about Scott May will never come back. And he looks at it, and he looks at me, and he just sort of shakes his head, and he just walks. He wouldn't acknowledge it. He wouldn't even give me the satisfaction of, oh, okay, yeah, you got me. There it is. I guess it's because there wasn't any sort of what's made up. It's because it's not a quote you can make up, right? You either say it or you don't say it. It had been in print. He hadn't objected to it. It just hadn't been magnified by being brought out as a separate. And so I couldn't even get any satisfaction out of offering the receipt and being right. You know what I mean? That's what hurt. He wouldn't even give me the satisfaction of, oh, okay, you got me. No big deal.
Now, how old would you have been at this time?
I was like 2 years out of college, so I would think it would be, I'd be like 24, 25 years old.
So I'm wondering,
23.
The reason I asked that is because if it was 10 years later, would you have pushed harder on him and going, you've been trashing me here for 2 days in Bloomington, Indiana. I'm getting calls from my buddy. And that's going to be your response?
I probably would have, yeah.
He should be back correcting the record.
Yeah, but see, the problem is, again, there's a power disparity.
For sure.
I'm just this meek,
what I mean.
cub reporter for the Louisville Courier-Journal, and he's Jerry Colangelo, who was one of the most powerful people, literally, in basketball when he was in charge. Not just in Phoenix, but international stuff. He's the guy who got us restarted on the Dream Team. It was all Colangelo.
Yep. 2008.
And it was just it was that arrogance of like, well, I'm under heat, so I guess I'm gonna pretend I didn't say it, and there it was. I found it. The moment that I actually found the paper was one of the top 10 moments in my life.
I believe that
because
it should be.
You're so desperate to prove, but you're starting to second guess and question yourself, and you're going, I'm running out of time. They want to close. Who knows? Because sometimes the papers get lost. They're not in the proper order. What are the odds I'm actually going to find it? And when I found it, I was like, yes! But then he didn't give me any satisfaction.
That's like a movie scene.
That's how it felt.
I mean, it is like you're under the gun. You're trying to find it. You're trying to get there. You finally get it. You're running up. You got to convince the guy to use the copier. It's a good movie scene.
Guardsy, I didn't find out that as well until my junior year regarding discovering the fact that you could study in the library. Also, my freshman dorm had a room for studying too, but let's just say it wasn't solo studying, let alone studying either.
Swordsman.
Yeah, apparently that's the case.
Okay. Was there anything more frustrating, by the way, at the library when you'd go to the card catalog, right, to find the book that you wanted, that you've been waiting for forever, And then you go, okay, I got to go to this aisle. I got to put these numbers in. Then you'd go and it wasn't there.
Yeah, that's
devastating. It'd be in between. I mean, that's like the opposite of what you're talking about.
That's true. You're right.
You get there and you want to read,
Yes.
You want to read Season on the Brink by John Feinstein.
That's it.
And it's not there.
Yeah, that is tough.
That hurts.
Bottom of the hour pause. We've got Dr. Dan's inbox to open. Ben Gessling in about 1 hour on the not surprising news, but now official, that Kwesi Adopho-Mensah has also received a contract extension to run the Minnesota Vikings front office. And Lavelle on everything, including his reaction to the way things ended for your Minnesota Timberwolves. I know he's written about the new owners. Now, pretty much on the clock. And where are they going to take this franchise from its current condition? All of that before we wrap it up at 6:30. To a dead guy coming up sometime, probably early in the 4 o'clock hour. If not then, 5:15. We'll definitely find a way to get that in. Good follow-up regarding our library discussion early. This is from 612 Guy or Gal. Dan, I use the library at least 3 times a week. Dakota County libraries are the most used libraries in the state of Minnesota. We even have pass keys that allow us to get in between 6 a.m. and 11 p.m.
I like that.
Whether the library is open or not. They're used by people of all ages and ethnicities for reading, for computer science, for puzzles, for videos, education. It's limitless. That's really encouraging for me to hear. I'm actually I'm pleased to hear that that's the case. I had just assumed, because some of the libraries I go by, it seems like they're not always open, and I'm going, well, maybe they're just not as popular. Maybe they don't have the people to man them or woman them. But it sounds like, at least in a few cases, that it's just they're maybe libraries are in a different role than they used to be.
A lot of people use them for internet,
but can be very
or even printing
effective.
Things. There's a lot of different uses for them besides just checking out books.
That's also true as well. Well, I think a lot of it about the library, this is going to sound pretty insane coming from me, but I crave places where there is relative silence. And again, given how much I like the sound of my own voice, that may sound absurd, but I really do. That's why I like bookstores. Any place where, the din is kept, at least in theory, to a minimum.
Yep. Where
you can, think your own thoughts, or just sit and whatever you want to do, have a cup of coffee, or even listen to something, because a lot of people have headsets on. They'll listen to things. So that's what I equate libraries with. The idea that it's, okay, this is a little bit more peaceful. You're out of whatever the madness is for just a few minutes at least. Bradshaw and Brian, KFAN text line is 64686. Ben Gessling on the Vikings news of the day at 4:30 and Lavelle at 5:30. But now,
it's time for Dr. Dan's Inbox.
Letters. Oh, we get letters. We get your letters every day.
Brought to you by
nobody, but now that we definitely have room for it every Thursday.
Yeah, that's true.
Even though today's Friday.
So we're not officially, by the way, if you're going to visit us, Target Center Skyway Cage, we are not broadcasting from there today. There is no Game 6 Western Conference Finals. Just for the record, in case anybody was confused.
And we're not doing a Lynx watch party for later tonight when they're in Phoenix.
No.
You can hear that game on the Lynx channel of your iHeartRadio app.
And how many games do we say? 44? So the mantra is the roar for 44?
That's what I liked.
It's not bad.
I'm fine if we find something better.
What if, I was about to say, what if the Lynx and the Liberty both go undefeated? But by definition, that can't be, because we play each other.
Exactly.
Yep. I think they're also undefeated, like we are right now, early. I think our first game with them, though, isn't until like late July.
Okay.
I can't wait. I want it now.
Well, it's a big one tonight because Phoenix is 4-1.
Oh, okay.
And so this is, let me make sure I don't have my schedule. Yeah, we have Phoenix and then the new Valkyrie in Golden State this weekend. So we're on a West Coast swing.
When is Clark coming through? Will she be healthy by the time we go through? Because I hear a lot of people are bitter about their tickets, at least for the stretch of time she's going to be out, and they're going to miss seeing her play.
Oh, sure. Yeah,
She's supposed to be out at least 2 weeks.
Yeah, we don't have the fever for a while.
Okay.
Yeah, Golden State, Phoenix. There's more players in the WNBA, Dan, than just Caitlin Clark. I don't know if you know that.
Including one that plays for the Lynx.
That's right, who we talk about extensively tonight on Enough Said.
That's correct.
We don't play Indiana. Wow, can that be true? We don't play them until August 22nd?
Are you serious?
And then
when does the regular season end?
It ends September 11th.
Okay.
They're here August 24th.
Ah, okay. So
then we play them again September 8th. So we play them 3 times. You know why? That's got to be made for TV because those are going to be big playoff seeding games. That's no coincidence,
well,
right?
Well, I also thought I read that 3 of our 4 games with the Liberty all come within like 9 days of each other late in the season as well.
They do. It's a weird. There's like a week off. Might be the All-Star break.
Oh, okay.
Because we play them on the road on a Sunday. Then we have a whole week off. Then we play them the next Saturday. Then we go back out to New York on a Tuesday.
So when it's 3 games with them in a row, is it 1 here, 2 there?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the first one must be here, the one that's in late July, I'm assuming. So that would be 2 and 2 if that adds up to 4, or if that's how many times we played.
It is.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. There you go. All right. Ready for Dr. Dan's inbox?
Maybe we broadcast from the cage for that game. Who knows? Showdown game.
Actually, we should.
I'm not kidding.
July 30th?
It'd be massive.
We could have the commissioner on.
See what
she's wearing.
She's got which skyline she's got on.
Yeah, maybe the Brooklyn Bridge this time.
Yeah.
Who knows? Dear Dr. Dan, I know from listening you have accepted the schedule loss as a valid and real hurdle that us NBA players have to face. Not that I expect layman folk to understand the toll a season takes on bodies, but I'm appreciative that you respect it and understand that some things are unavoidable. Having said that, I'm hearing complaints about my effort and performance in Game 5. I'll have you know, Dr. Dan, that teams down 3-1 in a best-of-7 series lose 98% of the time in the series. I'll also have you know that schedule losses do not just apply night by night, but season by season. This is all to say, why would I expend energy in Game 5 in a futile effort when another season starts soon and we need to be preparing for a Western Conference Final three-peat? My effort on Wednesday was perfectly appropriate to prepare my body and mind for yet another regular season next year. I know you understand this, but I'm hoping you can help the masses understand it. Jay Randall.
I assume the speculation's already begun on Jay Randall. He spoke. You gave us some sound yesterday from the head coach. I think the only player to not speak the day after postmortem stuff, what do we call that?
The exit interview?
The exit interview was Ant. I don't think Ant showed up for it. Everybody else did. Jay Randall didn't really, in effect, he made it sound like he wants to stay.
Yep,
He's
he
never
loves it
felt
here.
more welcomed from the beginning. He wants to go after it again. I don't know what's going to happen there, but it's obviously one of several very significant stories that have to play out now. And I think, to a certain extent, he's the key to it because there's domino effects that start with what you want to do with Jay Randall. Now, he always has the option. I'm not sure I'm buying any of the excuses he offered up in the text or in the letter, but he has the option to opt in. Now, I don't think that precludes the Wolves from trading him if he opts in. What did you say he's going to make 20? If he opts in, it's like 29 million, 30 million,
31 million.
31 million. Okay, which the more I think of it, I'm sure his lawyers, his agents are going to find out. Okay, what kind of market is there? Right? If he can get 3 years, let's say 60 million, I'm guessing he's going to prefer that to 1 year at 31 or whatever it was. But it's not just, I think, what Jay Randall wants. It has to be what the master plan is, according to T. Conley, right? Whether he has seen enough to say, no, we can make this work here. We are going to have the come to Jesus meeting that S. Mitchell suggested on the show yesterday. But as you pointed out, are you kidding yourself thinking anything is, going to change? You almost have to say, we'll take the good with the bad as it is with Jay Randall, because I'm not sure anything at this point is going to change dramatically. And that means you might have to accept that in the 2 most important games of the season, he might not exist, which is still kind of a rude awakening for me at the point where you're kind of in that plateau of very good, but you're hoping to take the next step. But then also there's the question of, well, if you want to let him go, what are you going to do
That's it.
in his stead? And that's where there's so many variables here, including trades we haven't even thought of, right? Involving players that we don't even know are available. I rule nothing out with T. Conley. Nothing.
And he's not the only one. Everybody's saying, all these general managers and president of basketball ops, people are saying this is going to get crazy. Not necessarily with free agent stuff, but with trades and different things as everyone's trying to figure out this second apron world.
Double T said it. Time will tell.
It's time for Dr. Dan's Inbox.
Letters. Oh, we get letters. We get your letters every day.
Dear Dr. Dan, I've always considered myself to be a very good basketball player, but is it possible I'm even better than I originally thought? Do you realize that when the Thunder traded me to the LA Clippers, they received a future MVP named S. Gilgeous-Alexander?
Yeah.
But that's not all, Dr. Dan. They also received another useful player, D. Gallinari. But that's not all, Dr. Dan. They also received 2 pick swaps. But that's not all, Dr. Dan. They also received 5 first-round picks. And did you know that one of those first-round picks was Jay Williams in 2022? He's third-team All-NBA and second-team All-Defensive selection. Like I said, I knew I was a good player. But even I realized that this deal worked out pretty well for my former team, the next NBA champions, P. George.
It's been brought up a lot lately for all the obvious reasons, and we probably haven't devoted enough attention to it as Wolves-centric as we got during the series, during the Wolves run. That trade took place in the summer of 2019, right? And I'm looking at a piece, for example, this was actually written a year ago. Remember that George ends up, the reason that deal took place is, in effect, Kawhi Leonard said,
"That's it.
I want
Paul George.
I want Paul George to be my teammate," right?
Yes.
That's what opened the door.
He had just wrapped up in Toronto.
Yeah,
won
with
the
a title
there.
Yeah.
Was going to be a free agent and said, I'll come to L.A., but I want P. George. And they got it done.
And did he mention in that letter, I think he did, that Jay Williams was one of the...
He did.
He did. So, in all seriousness, we talk about trades, one-sided deals. Wouldn't we have to say that this could go down as the single most one-sided NBA deal ever, that at the time it was made, nobody even spent any time thinking about, because we couldn't possibly envision what some of the principles would become, starting with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Correct.
Right?
Yep.
There's no way to know. But how often do you get, what do we talk about in this league still, even with the way it's changed? You're trying to make sure you, at the very least, forget about the days of having a big 3. Try to get to a big 2, and then surround them with the right complementary pieces, right? But in this case, how often in history have you made a trade in which you have found your number 1 and your number 2 player, right? I don't think there's ever been a trade in which that claim could have previously been made. Maybe I'm forgetting one, but that's what you get with this deal, correct?
It's ridiculous.
It absolutely is ridiculous. And is it possible? Who's the GM in Oklahoma City? Presti?
Sam Presti.
Has Sam, when he's ever spoken publicly about it, has he said, we knew Shai could be something special? Or does he kind of go the more self-deprecating T. Conley route, who, when it comes to Joker, said, look, come on, man. I liked him. We liked him, but we didn't have any idea he was going to end up being the best player in the league, right? How does S. Presti handle that? Do we know?
I don't know. Because like most of the country, I wasn't really locked in on the Thunder until the last 5 games, unfortunately. Bill Simmons mentioned it, too, after they won which trophy is it that you win for the Western Conference? Not important.
Magic Johnson.
Is it the Magic Johnson?
Yeah, it is. I didn't even realize that till 2 days ago. The MVP of the Western Conference tournament is Magic Johnson, the Magic Johnson Award, yeah.
There's a player named Alexei Pokashevsky,
okay,
who's actually a Timberwolves draft pick in 2020. I'm guessing we must have traded it immediately because I don't remember this. But he played, apparently, they call him Poku. And Simmons said, after they won, they should have Poku at the podium because he played 30 minutes a game after the 2022 NBA All-Star break to help them tank to get Chet. Because you need that too, right?
You
As
do.
Flip said, with developing, when he called in and said, we're not tanking, we're developing, and yet they were tanking to get the number one pick, which turned into Karl Anthony Towns, which was the first domino of this whole thing to fall, right? For the Wolves to be...
Yeah.
You have to make good trades. You also have to, a lot of times, hit the lottery or not lose the lottery like the Wolves did so often.
So, can people say in New York with a straight face that as of last night, the New York Knickerbockers won the trade with the Minnesota Timberwolves?
Well, let's hold that thought.
It's time
get to the next
for
letter.
Dr. Dan's Inbox.
Oh, we get letters. We get your letters every day.
Dear Dr. Dan, tough break for your Wolves. Came in hot, went out cold. Brutal. But hey, there's always next year, and the year after that, and the year after that. Meanwhile, my Knicks, we're looking to make history. Down 3-1? Not anymore. Just setting the stage for a comeback classic. Buckle up, Dr. Dan. Banners don't hang themselves. Hey, did you see me on TNT last night? K.A. Towns.
24-12 last night, I believe. And it wasn't
good again.
It wasn't close, right? I mean, that's what's interesting. Now, again, we've learned. Remember, the Wolves won game 3, was it, by 42?
They did.
It ended up being, as I predicted, a footnote if you don't end up winning the series or at least extending it. But I don't know. There are people who think maybe the Knicks figured out how to solve a little bit of what the Pacers do. Game 6 is in Indy. You could argue there's a lot of pressure on Indy, but Cat was very good again. Gamer. The allegations that he's soft. He's playing through like a knee injury that would have most players in a wheelchair, for God's sake.
He's always rubbing his knee every break. Yeah.
But he's still playing out there, and they are in position. So they haven't won their series yet, but they've already extended it one game further than Randall and DiVincenzo were able to extend the Wolves season, right? Because we were for the second straight year out in 5.
Yep.
Knicks have advanced it to at least game 6. And maybe that's the game, because the assumption is if it gets to 7, you're going back to New York.
That would be wild.
And when you have, the sort of super fans that the Knicks have, including who are the two that are getting named more than anybody else?
Well, there's Spike, there's Ben Stiller, Timothy
Ben
Chalamet.
Stiller and Chalamet. And they're on
every time.
I wanted to ask, we had a former New York tabloid guy on yesterday, that... Was it always the case that, because if you go to the back page of the tabloids now, those two fans are on every back cover. And I feel like back in the day, the tabloids would have said, we're not giving these Hollywood clowns that much credit or that much attention. Now they're getting as much attention as Cat
That's true.
and Jalen Brunson are. So I'm all in on the Knicks now and Tibbs. I'm a Tibbs guy.
Yep.
We like Cat. It keeps us connected a little bit. Do you know ESPN literally had a segment, either yesterday or the day before, with this question? Is it possible that Tibbs is coaching his way out of the job in New York? And I'm saying to myself, you just shake your head and you go, I know you need clicks and you need stuff to bounce off of. And Tibbs isn't perfect.
Right.
And there have been individual strategic decisions that could be questioned. The New York Knicks have not existed in a postseason sense for 25 years. Okay? They knocked out the defending world champions already. They are in the conference finals for the first time in decades.
Yep.
And you're going to really, with a straight face, make it sound like, well, I don't know. A couple more bad moves by Tibbs. Playing against a really good, I think we now all agree, Pacers club. And he's fighting for his job. How moronic does this stuff get?
It's time for Dr. Dan's Inbox.
Johnny Athletic probably agrees. He's a Tibbs hater. Sorry.
Dear Dr. Dan, why am I getting so little respect from your 5:30 guest, L.E. Neal III? I come from a family with a rich history of baseball excellence and am directly responsible for most of our big hits and big wins over the last 3 weeks. Sincerely, K. Clemens.
Definitely will be addressed with Laval. The only mistake is in making such a production of this, he's going to already know because he listens to the show a decent amount.
Yeah, but he might be golfing.
Well, that's true.
He's got to know it's coming today, though.
Well, I would hope that he indeed does. Where's the headline I was looking for? You familiar with The Athletic?
I've heard of it. I have 2 subscriptions.
Okay, let me. Yeah, you and I both have that problem. Let me see if I can find the headline. It existed, or did they already update it? Oh no, it was just here a little while ago. Here it is. After surprise DFA, Cody Clemens quickly made Twins clubhouse feel like home.
The Dan Hayes story. It could have been Lavelle's, but he dismissed him for 2 weeks.
You can't dismiss him any longer. That's for sure. By the way, do we know how often Dad is around? Is he here for every game?
He's been around a lot.
He has been around.
Yeah, I don't know if he's here just in perpetuity, but he was at Fenway. He was somewhere else recently. They're around a lot. Is he the kind of guy who's approachable at this point, or is he? I don't know.
Because I think
he's in a suite a lot.
You could sell it as we just want to talk about your kid. What it's like to have a kid, playing this well. What all that kind of stuff with that pedigree. We don't have to go down the road of substance. All the other stuff. I'm actually willing to narrow the subject just to hear what he thinks about what his kid is up to, and just the whole process of having a kid in the game who's got no chance, obviously, to live up to the standard as a pitcher that you set. It'd be fun.
It would be. I don't know if he's done the interview with Audra or anything like that.
Chalamet is the most likable dude in Hollywood?
People like Chalamet.
Oh, my God. These kids of today. What is he, 12?
Old enough to play Bob Dylan.
Well, that's true.
We're good. It's 58.
Okay,
Let's
good
take
job.
a break.
Yes.
Good job by everybody.
Standing work as always. Don't forget we have Ben Gessling in about 30 minutes. Ode to a Dead Guy when we return.